Dear learners, a very good morning to all of you. Now today we will talk about topic gas chromatography. As you know, gas chromatography is currently one of the most popular methods for separating and analyzing compounds. This is due to its high resolution, low limits of detection, speed, accuracy, and reproducibility. Gas chromatography can be applied to the separation of any compound that is either naturally volatile, that is readily goes into the gas phase, or can be converted to a volatile derivative. This makes gas chromatography useful in the separation of number of small organic and inorganic compounds. In gas chromatography, gas is the mobile phase and solid or liquid as the stationary phase. And accordingly, the two techniques are there under gas chromatography, and these are gas solid chromatography and gas liquid chromatography. Then we will discuss about instrumentation of gas liquid chromatography. In that, carrier gas supply, sample injection system, columns used in gas chromatography, role of thermostat, type of detectors used in gas chromatography, recorders, and applications of gas liquid chromatography. So dear learners, let us discuss gas solid chromatography. The main principle of gas solid chromatography that makes use of gas as the mobile phase and solid as the stationary phase. This technique has somewhat limited applications as compared to gas liquid chromatography. This is because the interaction of solutes with the stationary phase is in the form of their adsorption on it, and this adsorption is non-linear. This doesn't keep the ratio of the concentration of a solute in the stationary phase to that in the mobile phase constant. That is, the distribution coefficient of solute, that is K, is equal to concentration of solute in a stationary phase and concentration of solute in a mobile phase doesn't remain constant during the separation. Since all the chromatographic equations are derived on the assumption that the ratio of Cs by Cm remains constant throughout the separation, it is difficult to apply the general principles of chromatography to gas solid chromatography. Under this situation, this is the first point in what way gas solid chromatography differs from gas liquid chromatography based on distribution coefficient of solute. Then second point, the distribution coefficient of solutes are generally much larger than those for gas liquid chromatography. Hence, the solutes in the gaseous form are not eluted out completely from the solid stationary phase. And this leads to semi-permanent retention of solutes on the stationary phase and further causes elution of the solutes over a longer time period. And because of this, it is difficult to record narrow peaks for solutes in the gas solid chromatography. Instead, it results in a problem of tailing or broadening of elution peaks. This tailing brings about remixing of the separated compounds, and hence this technique is useful for the separation of components such as carbon disulfide, hydrogen sulfide, nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, or maybe carbon dioxide, and rare gases that are not retained on liquid columns. So in gas solid chromatography, the type of stationary phases or the most common stationary phase in a GSC is the molecular sieves. Example is zeolites or maybe porous polymers. That is styrene cross-linked with divinyl benzene. In molecular sieves or zeolites, these are the resins which are manufactured carefully so as to control the pore size in them. These pores or holes are of molecular dimensions. The molecules that are smaller than the pores penetrate into the interior of the sieve particle where they can be absorbed. The bigger molecules cannot enter the interstices of the sieve. Thus, for the smaller molecules, a larger surface area is available for the adsorption as compared to that for the larger molecules. Hence, sieves can be used to separate the solutes based on their size and adsorption coefficients. The molecules having smaller size, examples, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon monoxide, or maybe hydrogen and methanol, they are able to enter the interstices of the molecular sieves, but still can be separated from each other because of the differences in their adsorption coefficients. One major problem with molecular sieves as the stationary phase is that the polar compounds like carbon dioxide are permanently adsorbed in the pores of the sieves and thus block the surface to other species. This is one of the drawbacks. In case of porous polymers, the stationary phase in gas solid chromatography can be in the form of porous polymeric beads of uniform size. A polymer can be in the form of styrene cross-linked with divinyl benzene. This polymer is available in the market under the trade name of Porapack. The pore size of the polymer is controlled by controlling the degree of polymerization. Being hydrophobic, this polymer finds its main use in the separation of gases, which are polar in nature. Thus, the separation of the polar species like H2S, oxides of nitrogen, water, carbon dioxide, and methanol, and or maybe vinyl chloride is possible with this stationary phase. Now, in case of gas liquid chromatography, the principle in GLC, unlike gas solid chromatography, gas liquid chromatography is very widely used for the separation of gaseous samples. In this technique, gas is used as the mobile phase and the liquid, which is immobilized by supporting on some solid matrix, is used as the stationary phase. In principle, gas which is used as a mobile phase doesn't interact much with the solutes to be separated. The major role of mobile phase is to push the solutes which are dissolved from the stationary phase out of the column. Hence, the mobile phase is usually referred to as a carrier gas. An essential condition for the analysis by gas liquid chromatography is that the sample should be in the form of vapor. The vapor of the sample is introduced at the head of the column. The solutes from the mixture interact with the stationary phase by dissolving in it. The solutes having greater solubility in the stationary liquid phase remain in the higher concentration in it, whereas the solutes having lesser solubility in the stationary liquid phase remain in the smaller concentration in it. Thus, the solutes distribute themselves between the phases according to their distribution coefficients. The solutes having lesser interaction with the stationary phase are easily dissolved from it and are eluted out faster. The elution of the dissolved compounds is achieved by forcing an inert carrier gas such as nitrogen or helium through the column. Like in other chromatograms, a chromatogram obtained in a gas liquid chromatography also records the elution curves for the eluted compounds, which are bell-shaped. And all the equations used in liquid chromatography, as we have done chapter high performance liquid chromatography. So in that, whatever we have seen, so all kind of equations are applicable to gas chromatography as well, and can be used to calculate column efficiency, resolution, and elution times, selectivity factor. Thus, all the general principles of liquid chromatography are applicable to gas liquid chromatography. With a certain minor modifications that arise from the compressibility of the gaseous mobile phase. Then the basic components of gas liquid chromatography are as follows, such as carrier gas supply. These are the regulators to control mobile phase. Then sample injection system, there is a syringe. Then columns, maybe packed column or a porous or maybe the capillary. Then thermostat, then detectors used in gas chromatography, and then recorder system to record chromatogram or maybe output of gas chromatography. We will try to explore each and every part. So in carrier gas supply, the carrier gas used in gas liquid chromatography must be chemically inert. Gases like helium, argon, nitrogen, and hydrogen are used most of the times. Helium is the most widely used carrier gas. All these gases are supplied commercially in the pressurized cylinders along with the gas cylinders. Other accessories like pressure regulators in order to adjust the pressure or flow rate of the carrier gas. Pressure gauge to record the pressure used. Flow meters to record the flow rate of the carrier gas. And the moleculars used to remove water or other impurities from the carrier gas are also provided. The pressure of the carrier gas at the inlet is usually in the range of 10 to 15 pounds per square inch above the room pressure, which provides the flow rate around 25 to 50 ml per minute. Most of the times, it is observed that the flow rate remains more or less constant if the inlet pressure of the carrier gas remains constant. The pressure or the flow rate can be measured either at the inlet or at the outlet of the column. The flow rates can be measured at the inlet by using a device called as a rotameter. But this device is not very accurate. Instead, a soap bubble flow meter is employed to measure the flow rate at the end of the column. What is soap flow or soap bubble flow meter? It consists of graduated glass column having a side tubing which is connected to an analytical column. At the lower end of the column, a rubber bulb containing an aqueous solution of soap or detergent is attached. When this rubber bulb is squeezed, a soap film is formed in the path of the carrier gas. When the carrier gas enters the glass column, it pushes the soap film in the column in an upward direction. The time required for this soap film to move between two graduations on the glass column is recorded. And this information is used to calculate the flow rate of the carrier gas. Then in sample injection system, in order to get a peak which is sharp enough and provides the accuracy in the quantification, a simple or maybe the sample of the suitable size should be introduced as a plug of vapor. That is, it should be introduced at once. The slow injection or the oversized samples bring about spreading of the sample and therefore are responsible for poor resolution. For injecting the sample into a heated sample port located at the head of the column, a micro syringe is used. It is injected through a rubber or a silicone diaphragm. The sample port is usually maintained at about 50 degrees centigrade above the boiling point of an analyte. Usually, the sample size range from a few tens to 10 microliters. The capillary columns require much smaller sample size. In order to introduce the small amounts of the sample accurately to the column head, an additional device known as a sample splitter is employed. In this case, initially a large volume of the sample is introduced. The sample is split into different streams with the help of a sample splitter, and one small stream is allowed to pass through the port. The remaining sample goes as a waste. Moving further, columns used in a gas chromatography. Two types of columns, that is capillary columns and packed columns, are employed in gas liquid chromatography. This is the overall layout of packed column and capillary column. So this is a regular packing. Then open tubular capillary. There are two types, that is porous layer open tube column, and another thing is about wall coated. This is a wall coated open tube column. Now we will try to see a difference between packed column and capillary column on these parameters. The first parameter is about internal diameter, in what way they are differ, then length of columns, then volume of stationary phase and volume of mobile phase distribution, number of theoretical plates. At present you are very well acquainted with concept of theoretical plates and sample loading capacity and efficiency of separation. That is a chromatogram. In what way peaks get resolved from each other. That is efficiency of separation. So in capillary column, the capillary column is nothing but a capillary tubing of internal diameter of about 0.3 to 0.5 millimeter. The inner walls of the capillary tubing are coated with a very thin film, about 1 micrometer of the liquid, which acts as the stationary phase. The capillary columns offer negligible resistance to the flow of the mobile phase, and hence the pressure drop across the two ends of the capillary column is negligible. Therefore, the columns as long as 10 to 100 meter or more can be used. This longer length column consists of several hundred thousands theoretical plate. The ratio of the volume of the stationary phase to the mobile phase, that is Vs by Vm, for these columns ranges from 100 to 300. And this is the major reason that explains their high efficiency. Since these columns contain limited amount of the stationary phase, they suffer from very low sample loading capacities, that is less than 0.01 microliter. The loading capacity of the capillary column can be increased by coating the inner walls of the capillary with a porous material such as a graphite, metal oxide, or a silicate. The porous materials provides increased surface area for the coating of the stationary phase, which automatically increase the loading capacity of the column. Then in packed columns, these are made up of glass or tubes of stainless steel, copper or aluminum with the internal diameter of around 1 to 8 mm. These columns are filled with solid supports which absorb liquid used as the stationary phase for the separation. The packed stationary phase in these columns offers some resistance to the flow of the mobile phase, and hence there is some pressure drop across the two ends of the column. Therefore, these columns are not as long as the capillary columns, but the normal length of the column ranges from 2 to 20 meter. The column is made compact so as to fit it in the limited space inside the thermostat of the chromatograph by folding it or by coiling it. The ratio of the volume of the stationary phase to the mobile phase, that is Vs by Vm, for these columns ranges from 10 to 20. The number of theoretical plates per foot length of the column is 100 to 10,000 or 100 to 1,000. That can increase. The best packed columns have a total of 20,000 or more theoretical plates. For these columns, though the ratio of the volume of the stationary to the mobile phase is less than that for the capillary columns, the total amount of the stationary phase is more, and hence their sample loading capacity is higher. However, because of the greater number of theoretical plates in the capillary columns, their efficiency for the separation is higher as compared to the packed columns. Then solid supports for packed columns. The ideal solid support used in the packed column should satisfy certain conditions. The first point, it should have a small, spherical and uniform particle size with a good mechanical strength. Second point, it should have high specific surface area, at least of the order of 1 meter square per gram. Third point, it should be inert even at elevated temperatures. And fourth point, it should be readily weighted by the liquid phase, which is to be used as the stationary phase so as to give an uniform coating. There is no such perfectly ideal solid support available as of now, but the two most common supports are derived from the diatomaceous earth. The commonly used solid supports for the packed columns include fire brick and Iselgar. The fire brick, which is sold under the trade names such as Chromosop P, C22, Sturcamol, provides greater strength and larger surface area as compared to Iselgar, but is more active. This can lead to a semi-permanent retention of the gaseous compounds of the mixture on the stationary phase. Its disadvantage lies in the fact that it cannot be employed with polar compounds, that is fire brick. Whereas E-Sulgur, which is sold under the trade names such as Chromosop W, Silite, Embacil, Silatom, that provides smaller surface area as compared to fire brick and is fragile as compared to fire brick. It is a less active and doesn't lead to a semi-permanent retention of the gaseous compounds of the mixture on the stationary phase. The stationary phase used in the column is a liquid in a gas liquid chromatography which is immobilized on a solid support. Desirable properties of the immobilized liquid phase in a gas liquid chromatography are low volatility, high thermal stability, chemical inertness, and specific solvent characteristics. In low volatility, the liquid used as the stationary phase should not be volatile. Since gas liquid chromatography is carried out at sufficiently high temperature. Ideally, the liquid used as the stationary phase should have boiling point, which is at least 200 degrees centigrade, higher than the maximum operating temperature of the column. High thermal stability. The liquid used as the stationary phase should not be destroyed or degraded at the operating temperature of the column. In chemical inertness, the liquid used as the stationary phase should neither react with the solid support nor with the compounds to be separated. In solvent characteristics, the liquid used as the stationary phase should possess the selectivity factor that we have seen in HPLC, that is alpha, and the capacity factor K dash for the solutes to be resolved within a suitable range. No such ideal liquid which satisfies all these requirements is available. And as a effect, GLC, that is gas liquid chromatography, makes use of several interchangeable columns, each with a different stationary phase. A variety of liquids can be used as a stationary phases in a gas liquid chromatography. The stationary phase in a gas liquid chromatography determines the retention time of solute in the column. The solutes having small distribution coefficients do not interact much with the stationary phase and pass through the column so rapidly that no significant separation occurs. On the other hand, when the distribution coefficients are large, the solutes interact strongly with the stationary phase and a long time is required to elute them out of the column. To have a reasonable residence time of solutes in the column, a solute must interact with the stationary phase to a limited extent, but definitely not very strongly. For this purpose, the polarities of the two substances should be somewhat alike. For the separation of non-polar compounds like hydrocarbons or ethers, or non-polar stationary phase such as squalene, that is a high molecular weight saturated hydrocarbon, can be used as the stationary phase. On the other hand, a more polar stationary phase such as polyethylene glycol should probably be more effective for separating alcohols or amines. Solutes with nearly identical boiling points but different polarities can be separated by gas liquid chromatography. Solutes having similar polarities can also be separated using gas liquid chromatography if they differ in a boiling points. The order of elution for such compounds is in the increasing order of boiling points. Then in column preparations in a gas liquid chromatography, the support material of the required particle size range is obtained by using proper CUs. A liquid that is to be used as a stationary phase is poured in it so as to get the slurry of proper consistency. The amount of the liquid to be used as the stationary phase is calculated so as to achieve a thin coating around 5 to 10 micrometer on all the solid particles of the support. After evaporation of the excess solvent, dry and free flowing particles are obtained. These coated support particles are then filled with a gentle tapping and shaking into the column so as to provide a uniformly packed column. A special care is taken to avoid channeling, which may otherwise lead to the broadening of the peaks that we have seen in a Van Dimde equation, which are the factors responsible for band broadening, such as coefficient of eddy diffusion, coefficient of longitudinal diffusion, and mass transfer under non-equilibrium conditions. So after the column has been packed, it is bent or coiled into an appropriate shape so that it can be fitted in a compact space of the oven of the gas chromatograph. A properly prepared column may be employed for the separation of compounds from several samples. So dear students, in this part 1, we will stop over here only. In part 2 of gas chromatography, we will explore thermostat used in a gas chromatography and various detectors used in gas chromatography. So thank you very much.